Good evening and welcome to the WDSU News Hot Seat. Tonight we are continuing our debates. A big one up tonight, the race for City Council District D. This is a district that represents a lot of neighborhoods, including all of Gentilly. The incumbent in this race is Eugene Green, who has served for 4 years. He has two challengers who are here tonight, and they are in studio. They are Belden Nuniman Batiste, the incumbent, Eugene Green, and Leilani Hino. We thank you all for coming in. We're going to give you all a chance to make a quick opening statement. So we're going to start alphabetically. Mr. Batiste, you have 30 seconds to let people know why you feel you're the best candidate in the race.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Belden Nuniman Batiste. I've been 30 years boots on the ground fighting in the community. I got a proven track record of leadership, and I'm ready to lead. District D has suffered so much. We have a lot of problems in District D, and the problems must be addressed. We have the Sewage and Water Board, we have energy, we have the infrastructure, we have blight. We have a lot going on in District D, and the job has not got done. So I'm ready to lead, and my track record speaks for itself. I have been fighting, advocating in the community since I was young. I started out 14 years old, fighting all in the 7th Ward, 8th Ward, uptown, downtown, you name it. So I'm going to keep on fighting, and also I want to fight for our young people. Our young people deserve better.
All right, Mr. Batiste, thank you. Mr. Green, you have 30 seconds to make an opening statement.
Thank you, Travis, and thank you, WDSU. I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to be here on this evening. I do want to thank the voters of District D for your support and for your vote in the past. For the last 3.5 years, I've had a chance to serve in the district in which I grew up, the district in which I attended schools, the district in which I raised my 3 children, my 3 college graduates. I'm so honored to have an opportunity to represent this district, and I want to continue to work in the areas where we've made significant progress, because there has been progress made. Reductions in crime, infrastructure, addressing some of the infrastructure needs, over 400 blocks of street repairs. I'm looking forward to continuing that work.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Hino, you get to wrap us up. And just to point this out, they're both Democrats. You were running in this race as a no-party candidate. Okay, you have 30 seconds.
I'm Leilani Hino. I was born and raised right here in New Orleans. I'm a seasoned business owner who has created hundreds of jobs, and I've improved the quality of life for thousands of New Orleanians. Like many of you, I really just want the basics done right, which is well-maintained streets, equal opportunity, business opportunity, and I want to have a quality of life where families want to stay and stop moving out of our city. I bring energy, urgency, and most importantly, I bring real problem-solving ability to the table. I'm Leilani Hino, and I'm running for District D, and I humbly ask for your vote.
All right, so we're coming with a curveball at the gate right here. All the answers are going to be 60 seconds, but we have a specific question for each one of y'all for 30 seconds right out the gate. Ms. Hino, in 30 seconds, you ran for mayor 4 years ago unsuccessfully. Why again? Why District D right now after running unsuccessfully 4 years ago?
Specifically, in 2021, I ran because of all the issues that we were having. When I looked at the voting records of our existing council member, he is actually voting for many of the things that the mayor that I ran against. And since those things haven't changed, I'm running so that we can make change in those areas that didn't get changed in those 4 years.
All right. Mr. Green, in 30 seconds, would you consider yourself an ally or an enemy of Mayor LaToya Cantrell in 30 seconds?
Oh, it's important to recognize that I understand the role that the executive has working with the legislative branch, and for anyone to go into a position and just say, I'm opposed to the chief executive officer because at the end of the day, you won't get anything done. There are so many things that the city council does working in concert with the mayor, working with the executive office. I just want everybody to understand out there, I think that a lot has been made of one versus the other. There are issues on which the administration disagrees with the council, but it's important to keep our eyes on the prize, which is delivering quality public services. I have a great relationship with the many directors within the administration. We get work done, and I'm proud of that fact.
All right. And Mr. Batiste, you were one of the organizers and leaders of the failed recall against Mayor LaToya Cantrell. After going through that, what makes you qualified to run for this position?
Because everything I told them with the recall was going to happen. When you look at the city issues, we are having a problem. We are having a problem with the trash. We are having a problem with the Sewage and Water Board. We're having a problem with energy. In the recall, I talked about Congo Square. I talked about Lincoln Beach. I talked about Bayou Phoenix. And the same issues are existing. We even talked about the quality of life. We talked about everything that's happening with the light poles, what's going on with the council, with the mayor, fighting, and at the end of the day, nobody standing for the people. The recall was about the people, and the recall was about letting them know and being educated on, and everything the recall talked about has happened.
All right, 60 seconds. This is the same question for all three of y'all. We're going to start with you, Mr. Green. Infrastructure projects and flash flooding has become an issue in a lot of parts of District D. In 60 seconds, if you're reelected, how do you speed up a lot of those sewage and water board and public works infrastructure projects to get people's neighborhoods made whole?
I just attended a meeting in the 9th Ward in the Bunny Friend community recently at which a good number of people showed up. And I appreciate them showing up because they recognize that we've got to put more pressure on. And very honestly, we've got to put more pressure on the state of Louisiana too. The Sewage and Water Board is a state agency. The governor has the ability to, by executive order, make money available. During this next term, I would like to work more to make sure that the state recognizes that flooding is a regional issue. There's nothing specific to District D that differs from what happens in Slidell, for example. There's flooding in different areas. You've seen flooding on the West Bank. The bottom line is that we need to get the money and the resources to do it. I will speed it up, but especially working with the state to help make more resources available to get that work done. We will continue to apply pressure, and we will reach out to our state to join us in applying that pressure.
All right, same question, Mr. Baptiste. In 60 seconds, a lot of infrastructure and flooding issues. If you're elected, what would be your first goal to try to speed up a lot of these projects for so many neighborhoods in District D?
Look, the money has been there. First of all, we got to look at the budget and see the money hasn't been spent in the neighborhoods. So to speed it up, we got to change that Sewage and Water Board. The mayor should not be in charge of the Sewage and Water Board. Many members need to be moved off of that board that they call the Sewage and Water Board. But when you look at the infrastructure, you look at the streets, people are sick and tired of flooding. So we got to take action. The city charter got provisions in the city charter. I will bring the Sewage and Water Board there, hold them accountable. I work with the state, but at the end of the day, this Sewage and Water Board has continued to fail, and the council has refused to take action because of connections and friendship. So Mr. Belden, Noonan, Matt, and Baptiste going to hold them accountable. I don't care who it is. I don't care who give me campaign donations. I don't care. At the end of the day, the people and the taxpayers deserve better. We work for the taxpayers, our tax dollars. So every time we look in Sewage and Water Board talking about they need 50 million, 60 million, they're raising these high bills. Why do we keep getting their money? And we've been talking about the 7 pumps for a long time. Fix the pumps, fix the problem, and I will.
All right, same question. Ms. Hino, I don't think I have to report it. What would be your plan if elected in District D?
The question was about speed. We keep calling out the issue. We know that we're flooding, right? In my business, I have a 94% success rate. I'm paid for accountability. In fact, accountability is key is my tagline. And what's happening right now is we don't have any accountability across any areas of our streets, no matter what they tell you, because if we did, it would be working. In 2022, when Jerusalem made a measure so that we could host contractors accountable by holding funds, Mr. Green voted against that. And that's an issue for me because that's an accountability measure that would have focused on street repair that it passed, thank God, but it passed in spite of my councilmen from my district. So I would make sure that we have accountability measures in place and make sure that we focused on those.
Since she mentioned you by name, do you want to address anything with that?
I don't even remember the specific vote. When we voted to,
I do. I can
when we
give you
voted
the
to
stats.
withhold funds from the Department of Public Works, I don't remember that I opposed that, but I will tell you this. One thing that we need to take into account is withholding money from a department doesn't ensure that the work gets done because they don't have the money to get it done. We've got to put the pressure on the directors, we've got to put the pressure on the administration, but at the end of the day, it's important to recognize that even though we withheld funds, we put them back because you still have to get the work done.
Okay, thank you all, and we appreciate it too. We want to keep moving here. This is going to start with you. Mr. Baptiste, crime is always a topic in New Orleans, even though we are seeing record low numbers. In 60 seconds, Mr. Baptiste, if you could wrap this into your answer, do you support Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick, and what would be your plan for the 3rd and 5th district, which I believe are the 2 in District D right now? 60 seconds.
Yes, I support Ann Kirkpatrick, yes. I will support, but the 3rd and 5th district, what I see the problem is lack of transparency, accountability. I see favoritism, nepotism, sexism, cronyism, people not getting promoted that should run the district. So when you look at the police department, we got 900 cops. The reason why we can't get other cops, because at the end of the day, we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of favoritism and everything. My thing for the district is to make it safe and make sure we have quality officers and make sure officers want to come to work, and trying to find a way to pay the officers and making sure they're, being accountable and making sure they can come to their councilman and talk to them and be a whistleblower. As y'all know, Belden good at whistleblowing, but at the end of the day, I want to fix the NOPD where we have the greatest police force ever in District D, in the 3rd and 5th District, and also I want to open a public safety school, because we always looking for officers, but that's something that should go on in the schools. We should be training them to go on and be ready to promote the police district. Thank you,
All
Travis.
right, in 60 seconds, Ms. Hino, do you support Ann Kirkpatrick? And what would be your plan, if anything, for the 3rd and 5th districts, which are in District D?
I do support her. I like the fact that the numbers are coming down. It seems like we're focusing more on less on jailing people and more on deferred projects to help young children. So I think that's wonderful. I want to point out officers like Officer Nippy, who's actually getting into the different communities and getting to know the kids. I'm really for community-based policing, the way it used to be when I was a kid. We knew the officers that came. We had Officer Friendly and the whole, that whole scenario. And as funny as it sounds, like a Sesame Street thing, that was very effective as a child, because for me, when I looked at a police officer, it was somebody I could trust. Today, it's somebody that I can't trust, that I fear, So I'm in high favor of community policing, so that we can put designated police officers in different areas so that they can get to know the community better.
All right, 60 seconds. Mr. Green, do you support the current superintendent, and what would be your plan if reelected for the 3rd and 5th NOPD districts?
I support Chief Kirkpatrick. In fact, I introduced the ordinance which resulted in her appointment. I also want to say that the District D also includes the 7th District and the 1st District. So I want to look into the camera and say thank you to the members of the New Orleans Police Department. You've done an outstanding job, and crime is down. The cooperation with federal, state, and local authorities is unprecedented. I'm so pleased to be able to serve at this time to announce that, very honestly, many of our citizens feel much safer because of your work. My plan is to continue to get the resources to the police department, the technology that is necessary, whatever is necessary. I introduced the technology that, for example, allowed the police to use license plate reading technology, which had been denied for so long. All of these features and working on a cooperative level, federal, state, and local, is what I want to continue doing. I attended on Friday the graduation of class number 204, 18 graduates of the police department. I was so proud to be there. I'm so proud to recognize and represent and work with the members of the New Orleans Police Department. They're making progress. I want to continue that work as a council member. We're moving in the right direction.
And let me clear something up. The 7th and 1st, obviously the structures are in other districts, but those districts bleed in to District D, obviously, with their entire footprint. You are correct, yes. 30 seconds. We're going to start this with you, Ms. Hino. Speaking of what the councilman just said, facial recognition technology is a big talker citywide. In 30 seconds, the council will have to decide if police use facial recognition technology. What is your stance on that in 30 seconds?
Generally speaking, for specific facial recognition, I'm actually okay with that. But I'm not okay with giving that authority to a department that has misused it. So if you see that somebody has a behavior pattern and they took advantage of using that, I'm totally against giving them that authority again. As far as other recording and that, I'm against everything else. But limited facial recognition with hard guardrails, I'm okay with that, but not to a department that's already proved that they can't be held accountable.
All right, Mr. Green, in 30 seconds, you brought it up here a second ago. What is your stance in 30 seconds on the council possibly voting to use facial recognition technology for police?
I feel that the New Orleans Police Department has proven itself as a department that is not going to abuse citizens through the use of technology. Not just facial recognition, but the police have the ability to arrest people. The police have the ability to do surveillance. At the end of the day, facial recognition is just one tool of many tools in the toolbox that can help keep our citizens safer. But I think that everybody's ignoring the fact that just 2 weeks ago, someone was identified through facial recognition, and he was from another state, and he was accused of child molestation or child rape. We also were able to apprehend one of the escapees using facial recognition technology. It's important to recognize that it's a technology that has its place. There are safeguards in place, and this New Orleans Police Department is one of the most overseen police departments in the country based on the various entities, including the Independent Police Monitor, the federal government consent decree, and the like. I am pleased with what I see, but we will definitely be on the case to make sure that there's no abuse of technology.
All right, thank you. Mr. Baptiste, same thing. 30 seconds. Do you support the use? What would your vote be if elected to the council on facial recognition technology?
I vote against facial recognition. Facial recognition, I have met with groups in the community and everything. We know facial recognition was biased to black people. And at the end of the day, the CIA, the FBI, and other media sources have said that facial recognition is biased. Now, when you talk about the facial recognition, we talk about the police consent decree. It was brought here. They was using facial recognition and tools to go against people and go bias. Just we had one incident happen in Kenner with a New Orleans police officer. When a lady stopped dating him, he used facial recognition and tools to go try to beat that man up, and the cop went to jail. So facial recognition can be misused. And at the end of the day, I'm saying I'm not in support of facial recognition because I'm going by what the studies and all the groups have said, and facial recognition is biased to black people, and I'm shocked, and I'm really shocked that a councilman that's black gonna use facial recognition when they say it's biased towards black people.
It's important to recognize that I'm not only a council member, I'm a father of 2 black boys. I don't want them to be discriminated against, but you know what I want? I want the criminals who might be identified to be off the streets. You cannot ignore the fact, of course people want to do that facial recognition was just used to apprehend a child rape suspect. And also it got someone off the streets who was very, very dangerous. There should be safeguards in place. There are guardrails in place. But it's just important to recognize that it is technology, one sort of technology amongst the many that are available to the law enforcement community.
All right, let's keep going here. In about 20 seconds, we're going to change this really quickly. In 20 seconds, what is your thoughts on the Orleans Parish Jail right now? What could be done differently in just about 20 seconds?
The population of the jail needs to be, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, Chief, Mr. Green, yes.
The population of the jail needs to be reduced, but not through releases that make our citizens unsafe. When the sheriff comes before the council, she says that her capacity right now, based on the personnel, is at 700. But when I ask what we're doing, well, there are conversations with the state and the like. Those conversations need to happen. I'm asking Governor Landry to step up and work with the sheriff's office, because at the end of the day, we want to keep our citizens safer. But if our employees in the sheriff's office are unsafe because the capacity has been reached and it's been exceeded, then we need to do something to reduce the population without affecting the public safety of our citizens.
All right, Mr. Baptiste, in about 20 seconds, what would your plan be? What do you think of the current state of the jail right now?
The current state of the jail is alarming because you see a lot of escaped inmates. We just saw an inmate that got released, and at the end of the day, they need help. But we can't just point fingers at the jail. There's many other partners that got problems with it. That's where you're not pointing in. But I think if I had to say something about the jail, at the end of the day, I just want to see results. I don't want to hear excuses. And at the end of the day, I want this community to be safe. I don't want nobody being released that shouldn't be released. And when the prisoners escape, we hear a lot of excuses and all that. I want to hear the whole truth.
Same question to you, Ms. Hino, in about 20 seconds.
What would I do differently? Full transparency. Many questions that I ask council members, they have no answers to, and not by their fault. It's just they're not getting information from the sheriff, from that department. So for me, I want both departments to be able to see everything. I want full transparency for budgets. I want full transparency for operations. I want the city council, who's supposed to be our last line of defense, to know what the heck is going on at the jail.
All right, we're going to get to closing statements really quickly. Here's a yes or no, because we wanted to get it in. If you're elected, yes or no, would you try to help the University of New Orleans right now, which is in your district?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Hino?
Yes.
I figured it would be a yes. We wanted to get it in. We are running out of time, and we do want to give you all a chance to make a robust closing statement. So, Ms. Hino, you start us off. You have 30 seconds to let people know why you feel you're the best.
That means that our mayor has crazy power over our taxpaying dollars, right? City council is your last line of defense. And some council members want to record or want to track people, while I want to track city services, like street repair, like drainage, like trash pickup, like blight, right? That data would drive equity-based budgeting so that neighborhoods get priority based on their need versus politics. I'm Leilani Hino, and I'm running for City Council District D, and I'm asking for your vote.
All right, came in right on time. We appreciate it. Mr. Green, you have 30 seconds to let people know why you feel you should be reelected.
Once again, I want to thank the voters of District D for giving me the opportunity for over the past 3.5+ years to serve you. We've made progress in important areas: crime reduction, blight reduction. We've had residents who were on a toxic dump being able to be relocated. We've gotten major projects going, over 434 blocks of street repairs made. I want to continue to serve because there's so much more to do. I'm honored to have this opportunity to serve in the district in which I raised my family, in which I grew up. Let us continue to move forward as a city. There's a lot to do, but it's important to recognize that in many respects, we're moving in the right direction. Thank you for this opportunity.
All right, Mr. Green, thank you. Mr. Baptiste, you get to wrap us up with a closing statement, 30 seconds.
I'll be ready to serve, and I'll be the one to serve because I can get the job done. I have stood up to Susan Water Board. I have stood up to Energy. I have stood up to the City Council. I have stood up to the Governor's Office. And at the end of the day, I'm ready to serve. But I'm concerned about our young people, too. One thing about our young people, we got to find them skilled jobs. We got to find them career jobs. And I'm ready to do that. I hear the cries of the young people, and I am an expert in working with the young people because we got to make the young people a part of our program. A lot of times we leave the young people out. But I'm Belden Noonan Baptiste, number 43 on the ballot, and I'm coming to serve. And I got accountability, transparency, and a proven track record in leadership. Thank you.
All right, we thank you for your time. Belden Baptiste, Eugene Green, Leilani Hino, thank you very much. You can see this entire segment of The Hot Seat starting Monday morning on WDSU.com.